Great. Is everybody okay if I record this morning just for a couple people that weren't able to make it? I guess I should say anybody not wanting to record. Okay.
Where you going?
Great. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Right.
Okay. So,
Go that way.
Yeah.
all right. I am gonna, Jane, I'm just gonna put you on mute, but if you need to unmute, you can do that. Okay, great. Everybody else ready to go? Good morning. Ann Ball, Maine Downtown Center. Happy birthday to Rob Biggs. He said he's going to be taking down scarecrows for his birthday. A great, perfect Main Street director birthday. I want to share one thing on my screen, which, oops, hold on, which I was asked to share from Jan Kearse from our leadership program. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see, can you see that? Everybody see that lead now screen? Hopefully. Okay. I'm not hearing anybody. Could someone let me know if they can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. So we put something in our newsletter about the Lead Now. This is the COVID adaptation of Leadership Maine and Institute for Civic Leadership. And it is a number of series that you can see here. And as you know, I budget annually for scholarships to attend our leadership programs. And we would love to see a community cohort, like 3 or more people attend the Leading Through Uncertainty, or individually, if people are interested. I also would help support an individual in your community that would like to attend one of these sessions. So it's actually pretty amazing how it's come together, and I think it's going to be really good. There's information on our website. So if you think about whether your community might want to take on some leadership training together, I think it could be really exciting to think about. And I know that AMC, the Appalachian Mountain Club, put together a cohort, which Jan's really excited about. So really good programming, good speakers, and love to have you participate. Let's see. Awards nominations for 3 awards for the Downtown Center Annual Awards event. The nominations were in the newsletter last week, and the links to those nominations. Joanna, can you remember the due date in your head? No, okay. We give you like 3 weeks, I think. I mean, 3 weeks to 4 weeks to complete an application. There's an award for a downtown project or building renovation, rehabilitation. There's a award for a downtown hero, an individual who's made an impact in your downtown. And then this year we added a new category, innovation and adaptation, and all things that have had to adapt in this, particularly in this last year. So those are up. The big change is that we had scheduled this for January 20th, or was it the 21st? The 20th, which is Inauguration Day. And we have been advised and all agree that that's not a good day to hold this event. So we are bumping it to January 28th. And so we'll send out a save the date soon. We'll get it up on all our social media and whatnot, but we're really hoping to have you attend. And Adam, I hate to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to share just a moment with everybody about our keynote speaker who is really exceptional, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So Stacy Mitchell, who's a co-director at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, is going to be the keynote. She gave a TEDx Dirigo talk back in 2012 that was based on her work around big box stores, and it's called The Big Box Swindle. There's a book by the same name. And she just has an incredible depth of knowledge based on the research that she and the organization do on the importance of small local businesses and the impediments that they face. And their connections to the Main Street as well. So we're going to have a conversation together, and she's just really an incredible wellspring of information. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I had the chance to meet her virtually with Adam on Friday. He's known her for a bit longer, but she is amazing. And she's had interviews with Chuck from Strong Towns, and she really gets what you guys do and gets what we do and believes in it. And she's inspirational. So anyway, January 28th, put it on your calendars. Okay. So I sent out an email. Rob Biggs had an attachment about the film advocacy effort that he is involved in. He is going to quickly brief us on that. So I'm going to turn it over to the birthday boy. And if you have anything going on or want to chime in with a question, feel free to type it into the chat. And thank you, Joanna, for putting up the nomination link in the chat. As well as the leadership information in the chat. I appreciate that. So Rob, you want to take it away? And if you want me to put that document up, I can do that too.
No, that's fine. We'll make it
Okay.
really quick. Obviously, everybody can read the document. Hopefully they've at least perused it slightly before this event. And I don't want to take up a ton of time because I know it's limited, but more than anything, beyond the facts and figures that are in there, I mean, obviously Maine, we all want to keep younger people here. We want to attract younger people to this state. And it's always amazes me, even when I was in corporate real estate, how much money was spent on trying to attract businesses to a state or a community. We would go into 5 or 6 communities with a new company that wanted to relocate, and everybody would put the big pitch out and spend a ton of money and roll out the red carpet. This piece of legislature could attract a ton of business to Maine, a ton of jobs to Maine, and there's no money outlay until they actually spend the money in the state through this program. And so what we're trying to do, and I can take it from personal experience, having a film that actually used our house as a set for 10 days, I saw firsthand kind of how it affected local people and how it affected the local economy. And then multiply that out by much larger and more films, it would be huge for Maine. And the governor has suggested that we need to create 75,000 jobs in the near future. And I think that this is a easy $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 job kind of thing that would happen quite quickly if we were allowed to increase the rebate for money spent in Maine on Mainers. So with that said, like I said, we had a movie that filmed in Saco Biddeford area called Holly Star. It's sort of a Hallmark feel-good Christmas movie. And you can look it up. It's on Netflix. It's available free. And so with that said, every morning at 5 a.m., a guy with a coffee truck pulled up and served breakfast to the group of 25 to 40 people that were in our house. Then he would leave, and at noon, a whole bunch of people would show up and there'd be lunchtime catering. Meanwhile, there were electricians outside of our house that were setting up lighting that were from Maine that had never touched a movie set in their lives, but were trained to do that by an individual who was here from California, the lighting expert, but he used all local Maine, non-previously trained electricians and other trades to set this up. They were employed for a couple of months here. They had high wages, higher than normal wages. And as I was talking to them, you know, their choice was to be crawling under my basement looking for some knob and tube in my 200-year-old house, or working on a movie set. Guess which one they would prefer to do? They were much more excited, certainly, about that. But they also, while they were here, there was 40 rooms rented at the Alouette Hotel in Old Orchard Beach, which would have been closed all winter. And they were there for a couple of months. They had food at restaurants locally. They bought groceries at Hannaford. I mean, there's a ton of money spent. And they were working on a 10% rebate at that point. And with a 25% rebate, you're going to see results like Georgia, which has exploded with their movie industry in Atlanta. New York obviously is big, but there's never been a Stephen King movie filmed in Maine, but they're all about Maine. And Maine is one of the, as one director told me, it's a great place because nobody has seen it before that much on film. There's sets that you've never seen. There's an incredible beauty, and it's not all about lobsters and lighthouses, as Patrick used to say. It's, they need Katahdin, they need lakes, they need gritty little towns. They need beautiful, certainly oceanic scenes, but there's a little bit of everything. Another movie that was recently filmed in Maine is called Blow the Man Down. I'd highly encourage you to look that one up. It was filmed in Harpswell. And during that time period that they filmed that, 40 houses in Harpswell were rented that would have not been rented all winter because they're seasonal homes. And again, spent a lot of money, used restaurants, hired local people, hired local talent to be in the movie itself as extras in small parts. So with that said, what I would like to do, I'm pushing this thing. I'd like to see our folks get behind it ultimately. And what that entails is basically calling your state representatives, calling your economic development directors in your individual communities and encouraging them to vote for this piece, but review this document, please. It's pretty, it's got a lot of good facts in it and some figures, and it gives you a better understanding of how it can actually help. I mean, you look at New York, you look at Atlanta and those in Chicago, and there's lots of filming going on, and that's really exciting. But even in this document, as you'll read at the bottom, one of the lines, New Mexico has a similar program that we're trying to promote, and they had $500 million spent in their little state, which is rural. And guess what? They've got some great scenery, some wonderful views. And then on top of that, once the film goes out, then it creates this tourism opportunity. As I was telling Zach yesterday, we saw Field of Dreams and we lived in Chicago. Guess where we drove a few weeks later? Out to the middle of Iowa to look at a little league field, basically in a cornfield. And we spent money there and we stayed in hotels there and we ate food there just because we saw that on the movie. So I think it's an awesome opportunity. It's a low impact business. We don't have to plow down land, cut down trees, build buildings. We just have to let people take pictures of our wonderful state and let them tell our story. And it can be a beautiful travelogue, or it can just be, like I said, a gritty little movie. The one in Harpswell is a really dark comedy, but it shows off our state, and it's quite nice. So with
That's
that,
great.
again, I don't need to go really a lot longer. I just encourage you to read this. If you would like to, please call me. I'll be glad to talk to anybody about this within your city, your state representative. It doesn't matter, because this is something that really, I'm going to just keep pushing on this until we get this through. We almost got it through last year. We missed by a few votes, but we're going to work on a better strategy. And last year it was sold, and the negative results came from, well, we don't want to give these Hollywood types all our money. But it's not going to Hollywood types, it's going to local Mainers.
Right. So Rob, I did put the document in the chat if anybody had missed it in the email, and a couple comments. Adam says, this is so important. Thank you. Many friends who work in the film industry have lamented having to go out of state to work. And Joanna, from her childhood, said they actually filmed one Stephen King miniseries in Southwest Harbor and Bass Harbor about 20 years ago. Fake snow in downtown Southwest Harbor in the middle of the summer.
Right.
But Rob, what's the timing of this, considering the legislature not being fully in session and not being clear when that will be?
Right. So we've got about a 35-40 day period to get this on the schedule, and then
Okay.
we'll start working through its process. So we're working right now strategically on who will be the sponsors. And then beyond that, we're going to, as Zach pointed out yesterday when we were talking, was find out who were the negative detractors last year and work on them next as to why. Because if you read through this, and Zach called me after he read it and he said, I'm trying to figure out what's negative about this and why nobody would want to vote for this.
Well, I did get an email yesterday from one of our advisory council members, and he, his argument against it, just in case you're wondering
Yeah.
if that's useful, I'm gonna call it up, is basically, hold on. Here it is. He says, this is from Ken Young. I'm reminded of the never settled debate about public incentives for private enterprise. My understanding, based on the research I've read, and he lists all sorts of sources, is that these sorts of incentives have little to no effect on business investment decisions. These sorts of schemes are the basis of that old saw about the triumph of hope over experience. And I have heard Ken's argument before, as far as economic development incentives, but that is one argument being made, and I'm not stating an opinion. I'm just letting you know what it
Right.
is,
No, that's
because I
fine.
thought it might be helpful for you to hear that. And I'm happy to forward it to you. Is that, you know, some people feel like incentives are short-term as opposed to long-term economic benefits. Also, but I can forward you this.
Yeah.
Are there other questions for Rob or
Has
thoughts?
anybody reached out to Patrick Dempsey? Is that
There's several of the, would say the Hollywood types, right? But they're from Maine that are getting behind this. There's 3 or 4 actors that you would know if you saw them, but not probably by name, that live in Maine currently that are involved. Patrick Dempsey, and then Anna Kendrick is another one out of Portland.
Yeah. I was just thinking Patrick Dempsey seems to be very active right now with Maine causes and kind of activism within Maine, and recently renovated a home in Kennebunkport. So I was throwing that out there.
And Christina Kane Gibson up in Caribou has spent time in Texas before she moved back to Maine, and she put up their film office program in the chat, Rob. And she said it's a huge economic boost. And feels like, you know, the quaint downtowns and the Hallmark movie filming rotations, you know, mostly are happening in Georgia and Toronto. And they can shoot year round, but it would be great. And she says, I'm in to help. So you have an advocate up there in Aroostook County, Rob.
Okay, good. That's
Thank
great.
you,
Actually,
Christina.
and that's part of the challenge is some of the folks that were the most negative votes last year were from Northern Maine because they felt it was all about people in Portland.
It's funny, when I think about a movie downtown, I actually think about Holton, Nancy. Like, what an amazing, like, you know, you just have the infrastructure, the buildings in Holton, like what a great movie set, right? So
Yeah.
I agree.
As I said, so look up those 2 movies that I mentioned, Holly Star and Blow the Man Down.
okay.
And you can check out what a movie in Maine could look like. And they're
Blow the
about
Man
as
Down.
polar opposites as possible from a type of movie.
Great. Thank you, Rob. If
Sure.
anybody has questions, Rob, you want to just put your email in the chat
Sure.
so people can reach out to you?
I will do that.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure I don't see any other questions on this. I've been seeing lots of comments. I'm just switching screens. Everybody good? Okay, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. Just a quick question, not a poll, before I pass it over to Joanna. How many of you have attended or are contemplating Working Communities Challenge, which is the new program being unveiled by the Boston Federal Reserve? I see Dave, Nancy, anybody else have attended sessions or thinking about it? Christine, both Christinas, Zach, Melissa, great. Okay. I just wanted to get some read on that. MDF has been attending the sessions, trying to figure out our role in all of this, and we will be talking more on Monday. So I do look forward to, you know, talking to you further about it. It's obviously, you know, they want ambitious ideas. I think I heard that on the session I attended 10 times, ambitious. So think big. Hi, Sarah. We saw you driving, but didn't want to talk to you.
Sorry, I wasn't sure how to, I was trying to.
It was perfect. It was
But,
great.
you know,
Safety first.
Safety first. So anyway, I encourage you, if you have other questions on the Working Communities Challenge, to think about those regional teams that they're encouraging you to make. Rosie, do you want to add anything to this discussion?
No, I think, we are looking at a couple of different options and roles for MDF, and we are hoping to be able to assist our communities. So we'll know a little bit more about the direction that we're taking on Monday. And we're hopeful that we'll be able to move some really audacious goals forward.
Ambitious. Audacious? Maybe.
It was audacious on mine,
Oh,
sorry.
it was audacious on yours. Okay. Audacious and ambitious. All right. So thank you for that. So as you know, we have dug right into our wonderful AmeriCorps Main Street Fellows program. And I'm going to let Joanna introduce the two that are joining us this morning and pass it over to her to talk about some of the work happening with our fellow. Joanna.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday the 13th. So as Anne mentioned, and as you all know, we are running a first year of an AmeriCorps fellowship, the Main Street Fellows program. And we have fellows placed in Gardner. Perry, the fellow from Gardner, is here with us this morning. Also in Skowhegan, Rockland, Biddeford, and one with us, the main downtown center, Nat. And Nat's work is hopefully going to benefit all of our members, all of our Main Streets and affiliates. And so I invited him to speak a little bit with you about what he's working on. And hopefully this will just be a first contact of many with Nat.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see you all live. I've been watching some of the webinar recordings, but it's nice to be here all live in the same space. I'm going to share my screen, if I can get it going. You all seeing that? Yeah, awesome. Great. So I just wanted to introduce you all to the work that I'm doing and some of the projects that I'm working on. My service is kind of divided into three rough categories. The first is kind of pandemic response and recovery. So I've been working through lots of data, webinar recordings, reports, call notes, all sorts of stuff, trying to figure out just kind of broad trends in how communities in Maine are responding to the pandemic, and kind of starting to divide those different efforts into some rough categories that are, definitely not mutually exclusive, but things like efforts that are building community, or efforts that are surrounding kind of design changes in the downtown, or local regulations regarding like ordinances and permitting. And I'm hoping to kind of in these different categories come up with some real exemplar case studies that really have helped Maine communities work through the pandemic, but also kind of advance local resilience and increase equity. And so I'm hoping that at the end of this process, I'll end up with a whole number of case studies that will kind of be demonstrations of how people have addressed the pandemic in a really constructive, effective, resilient, and equitable way. And hopefully that will be a resource for all of you as you're thinking about different types of projects to do in the future. You can see some local examples of what may have worked in Maine in other towns. So that's kind of the first part. And I might also be reaching out to some of you over the next couple of months about some of these specific efforts that you may have been involved in, just so I can get a little bit more context and maybe write it up as a case study. So you might hear from me in relation to that. The next thing I'm working on is the members area. So the main downtown center is working on building out a members area on the website, but we're still working on exactly what the functionality will be. There's some things we know we want to have on it. We want it to be a resource for kind of information requests and resources. We want it to be a place where we can share reinvestment data, other community metrics, salary survey, opportunities and scholarships. But we really don't want this just to be a top-down look at what we think you want or need in kind of the members area. So I'm pulling together a quick survey that hopefully I'll be able to send out to all of you to get your thoughts on what you would find most helpful, how you kind of currently look for information, and then how you use some existing resources. So things like The Point or other things like that. Where are you getting your information from now? And hopefully, based on the results from that survey, we can kind of move forward on exactly what the design for this members area will be. And then we can start filling in the content side of it, and it'll be a resource for you all. And then the third project that I'm working on are kind of community deployments. So as part of my service, I'm going to get loaned out to different communities across the state to work on short projects that increase local resilience and advance equity. And these can be at different points in the process. Maybe it's a community wants to learn more about an issue so that they can better plan a project, or they need help with the planning, or want a little extra capacity for the implementation of a project. We're gonna kind of do an RFP process for this. And hopefully we want the RFP process to be pretty collaborative so that we can work with you to make sure that proposals kind of meet the goals we have and, are going to be sustainable, in the communities as well. So in this project, we're hoping to have an RFP out the door early next year. And maybe spend February refining proposals and then start making some decisions on where I'll be going. You probably will be hearing a lot more about this moving, in the next couple of months as we write out the RFP. And, we might be reaching out to you to get your feedback on certain elements that we want to include. Maybe we might do a focus group to make sure that we are crafting our RFP in the right way or something like that. So you might hear from me or from MDC team on that as well. But that's kind of the quick overview of the 3 projects I'm working on. And yeah, thank you all so much. And I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Nat about any of that?
I just have a quick question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
As you're thinking about that, kind of that members portal, we're undertaking a similar process kind of here in Rockland related to a community portal. I'm wondering if there's any way for us to kind of share information on structure and kind of mechanisms that you're seeing working, and we could do the same. It sounds like we're undertaking a similar idea for kind of similar groups, right? Kind of this membership kind of portal idea. And we're it's something that our fellows working on. So maybe if Maggie and you, or if we could all kind of think through the sharing of ideas there, that would be helpful.
No, that sounds like a great idea. I would love to have those conversations. We're still in the pretty early stages, and we have some parts of it kind of figured out, and we have some constraints we're working under. But
yeah, absolutely. So maybe we can share first, but just kind of keeping that open.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Wonderful. All right, thank you.
Just a comment. I stumbled across the Michigan Coordinating Program has a really good resource. And then the program in Oregon also has a really good resource. So in terms of what already exists out there, I don't know if you've done any research there, but there are two that I noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that I think it was Michigan had like a Reopen Michigan website with some really good and well organized resources. So
they have a whole executive director resource manual that some of it was good in terms of the way the information was all compiled. I think it's probably a challenge to keep it updated, but in terms of the type of information, I think it's probably helpful.
Yeah, great. I'll take a look.
Joanna?
Yes,
Joanna?
Jane. Yes.
Could we have Nat share a little bit about himself, his background, and why he decided to come to Maine? And that would be helpful.
I was
That
going to
sounds
ask
great.
him to
Thanks
do
for
that.
asking it.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking, Jane.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to ask the same thing. I figured you'd like to know a little bit more about him.
Right.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Maine, so I've been here for a while. I grew up in Edgecombe, which is down kind of near Booth Bay and Damariscotta. Went away for college and have been back for a few years in Biddeford and then also in Brunswick. So my background is in kind of environmental studies and anthropology. And then I spent the last 3 or so years working at Efficiency Maine doing kind of program management and managing kind of the marketing and communications there for kind of residential weatherization and heating systems programs, as well as just kind of doing general data analysis. And I would say that I kind of came to this program from a real desire to help kind of Maine communities. You know, I had been, you know, planning on joining the Peace Corps actually, and that kind of got derailed because of the pandemic. And so I was looking for ways that I could contribute a little closer to home. And the Main Street Fellows program really seems to fit into that really well. And I'm really excited to kind of be working to help Maine communities respond to the pandemic and kind of, while they're doing so, you know, lay the foundations to kind of for a more kind of resilient and equitable future.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
I'm curious if those of you that don't have a fellow, do you think that you might be able to take advantage of a few weeks of Nat's support this spring on various kinds of projects that fit the profile? Nancy, Zach, Rob, Christina. Does that seem like something? Kara, sorry, Kara. Great.
Yeah, it should be there. You know, I think you can be so creative with how to use a NAT for 2 to 6 weeks. And all sorts of wonderful ideas come to our minds. But of course, we really want you guys to come up with those ideas that could be impactful. So.
Yeah, and I think the plan is for the RFP to include some examples of different projects building off of the case study work. So so hopefully, yeah, it'll be an ongoing dialogue and it'll give Nat a chance to do some work in some of your communities.
Great. And at our January annual awards on January 28th, we are going to allow everyone in attendance to hear from all 5 fellows. We're still working on what that's going to look like, but it'll include kind of what Jane is saying, like a little bit about themselves and how they've landed here in this program, and then a little bit about their projects in each of their communities, or in the case of Nat, with us, so that we're going to be sharing what all the good work is they're doing, because it's pretty incredible. So any other questions for Nat? Great. Okay. Then, and Zach says depends on the timing. Well, the timing, Zach, would be anywhere from spring till August. It's pretty going to have a good amount of flexibility, I think, just so you know. The formal part of the agenda is done. And so we have a few minutes to open it up to the floor. If anybody would like to throw a topic out or give us an update of something happening in your downtown. I know that today seems to be a particularly full day of meetings. We've had 2 directors and Sarah Hansen, one of our advisory council, had to jump to another meeting. So this may be just a short meeting today, but I certainly want to open it up if anybody would like to throw something on the table. Dun, dun. Okay, might be a quiet morning. And short meetings are okay, right?
I have a question. Have you guys all received your Small Business Saturday packages from American Express?
Ah,
They're
got
not
one
doing-
yesterday.
They're not doing merchandise or swag.
I got one yesterday, but it was just very small. I'm not complaining because they got a late run, but I wasn't sure to expect more or.
yeah, it usually involves lots of swag.
Yeah, they said they're not.
It's a lot smaller this year.
Okay. Well,
Well,
there
what
you
I got.
go. Okay. Well, there you go, Christina. It sounds like everybody's in the same boat.
You're unmuted.
Um, anybody else want to chime in with something? Bill, yes.
Just to tell you that Jane and I attended last night's Maine Preservation Awards
All right.
function, which was done mute. I can't say mutely. It was done on Zoom, and it was done very, very well. It was just a nice job. I think you can all get on the Maine preservations and get a taste of it. And it's well worth it. Of course, we were interested because we had 2 Bath buildings involved.
That's right. Did one of them win the People's Choice?
No, the People's Choice went to Base College at their chapel,
Okay.
which was an incredible job.
That's
But there
great.
was some incredible jobs, and it had over 85 people in attendance.
That's great. Well, I'm aiming for 75 to 100 at our event in January.
There you go.
So that's good to know. There were 2 buildings from our Hollowell campus, our MDF office, were also in the running for the a People's Choice Award, 2 of the new buildings on the Stevens Academy campus. So there were some great projects.
Yes.
Great. Anybody else have anything they would like to share this morning? Topics, challenges, announcements? Great. Okay, the Zoom rule is you wait for a minute, and then if it's all quiet, then we say goodbye. Great. Cara, good luck with your cider and cheese event. As you finish that up, I know that's a big lift, having watched Melissa go through Swine and Stein, the intensity of that. Great. All right. Well, I think we will wrap a little early today. Thank you, as always, for checking in with us. Perry, it was great to have you, and we will make sure the rest of the fellows are all linked in for our December call. Think about Leadership Maine, think about Working Communities Challenge, and we'll get you that save the date for our awards in January. And those Main Street directors, I'll see you later at 11:30. So thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.